One. Hey everyone, I'm back. This is Michelle Benaker. I'm an autistic blogger of my own blog website, The World of Autism. I'm continuing more of my guest series here. I have Armando on today. Hi, Armando.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So I thought we'd go into start off with talking about with your journey growing up with autism first.
Oh gosh, yeah, getting right into it.
Yep.
Like Michelle said, so my name is Armando. At this time, I'm a board certified behavior analyst who was diagnosed with autism at 3. I currently own the only autistic owned applied behavior analysis therapy center in Houston, Texas, and one of only two in the entire state of Texas that are autistic owned. When I was diagnosed, I was told, or rather, my mother was told that I might as well learn sign language because I was never going to be able to speak. With that being said, they basically told her, that's all we have for you. Best of luck. And I have other people just like you I have to go and see. So it was incredibly, as you can imagine, very heartbreaking, very sudden as well. And to then, have a mother be told that there's nothing that a doctor can do and that all the hopes and dreams that she may have had for me as a child were not going to occur, it can be very devastating. However, my mother, if there's one word to describe her, I always say it's a fighter. She absolutely did not accept this and said that I'm going to help my son uh, receive independence, being able to provide his own success story. And through the support of my mother, my sister, my father, I was able to do just that. I feel she went to the public library at the time. And I'm sure some of you know already Michelle's story. We could not afford ABA therapy at the time. In Texas, it was very expensive and just not doable for the average Texan, if you will. But she did have access to the free public library. And so she did go to the library and found several books about autism. And one particular that she's mentioned was about a young boy who was lost for a little bit, and his father was trying to find him, and they found him, and he was autistic. He started to sail his father's boat. And no one had ever taught him this, but he would always go with his father on a boat ride. And so that story inspired her and said, if this young man can learn how to use a boat and have autism, then why is it my son is not capable of doing really anything he puts his mind to? And with that mindset is what I currently use with my own patients I currently serve, with the idea that a diagnosis does not define a person. It's what they do after the diagnosis. And with that is I try to live that and help support the patients I see each and every day. So again, I really do thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, of course, definitely. And just like just like with you, like I'm also working in the ABA field as well and stuff. And just a little update. I know we've had conversations about with like each other's journeys in the ABA field. Just so you know, I'm actually sitting for my exam, my BC ABA exam this in September. So
Michelle, that's
I just
amazing.
thought I'd share that update with you and for everybody else too, that I am going for my next certification. I have my exam that's coming up in September, so
I
crossing
am
my
so
fingers, I'm
proud
on the
of
studying
you.
route right now.
Oh my gosh, I am so proud of you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And speaking of, you know how it's been such a like we've heard a lot of things with ABA and like with autism, like there's such controversy about like why people like ABA, why they don't. It's like back and forth. So I actually wanted to go into this with you a little bit more for those that are learning just about with ABA in general and like what really inspired you more so to open up with your own company that you have today.
It's a good question. Honestly, it's
Yeah.
exactly the reason you're putting it, right? Is that we have a good amount of autistic individuals or individuals with autism, however they would like to be presented, that describe really traumatic events that they suffered in applied behavior analysis therapy, ABA therapy. And the problem I do have with this, right? And what I say typically is that these stories should be honored and respected, right? But they are anecdotal in the sense that they are an individual's personal story. And so it's important to note that not every practitioner in this field, just like you and I understand,
Mhm.
is in it to cause that kind of trauma. And the example I typically give is if you had a medical doctor that you just did not agree with, that you do not like how they are practicing medicine, you would then not say, I just will never practice Western medicine again. You would say to yourself, I'm going to find a doctor that fits my ideals, my opinions, my beliefs better than this former doctor. And at that point, I say often, why is it we can't do that for ABA? And so another point to this is the fact that ABA is a science and therefore is not going to go anywhere. It is a science of behavior. And so, despite however many people will say that ABA is terrible, it has to be removed, the best way of doing that and changing it is to have people like you and myself that are neurodiverse, that are autistic, that are getting their degrees in this and changing it from the inside, right? Because
Right.
again, we can complain all we want, but it's
Mhm.
going to be incredibly difficult to remove when this really is a part of everyone's lives, whether they may know it or not.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's not going away.
Yeah.
No matter what everybody's opinions are of it. Like, and I think is that another thought that I've noticed is that people get so stuck with the past, like they don't look at like the overall picture of how much the field has evolved and stuff. And like just like what you were saying about like how much more autistic neurodiverse people are going into the field working as providers and practitioners. So it's so crucial that for people to understand that like we don't need to see it like it's like in a way we kind of are applying it really by shaping what people's mindsets are in regards to what they see of ABA. Like, and this is like with any other, and just so people know, it's like with any other kind of therapy or even doctors and stuff that you go to see, like, you just gotta find what fits your own needs. And at the
Yes.
end of the day, you know, that's like being told about with just like I remember, I'll tell you this, Armando, that I once was doing a keynote speaking event. I had someone ask me about with well, actually this is a common question that I've been told about. I don't know if you've ever been told this, where like will my child ever learn to talk? And I'm
Yes.
like, that's a pretty common question because I'm like, at the end of the day, it's everybody's rate is just so different. Like
Mhm.
development is different. Brain development is different. It depends on like how much like their neurons and everything are being developed over time. So you can't like,
Well,
on all honesty.
I've had parents also say in the ABA field as well, like, oh, my child's
Mhm.
only going to be here for like a couple of months and he's going to be good, right? And what do you say to that in that situation, right? What in reality in these kind of conversations, it's parents that are truly struggling in the sense that they had all of these ideas of what their child's going to do, and a doctor, like they told my mother, are saying those are not going to happen. And so they're hoping for some kind of miracle, right? And what I do say though is that this is a marathon. It's not a it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it's really going to be up to the child on when ABA is quote unquote completed in that sense for the therapy aspect. I've had kids that may be with me for only 6 months. I've had kids that may be with me for a couple of years. But what I try my best to have happen is really rapid fire the prerequisite skills that are needed to then push these kids back with their neurotypical peers. And that's something I think with individuals like yourself, myself, we're trying to get these children back with their peers because we want it to be social appropriate. That's what ABA is trying to do is give a more socially appropriate approach to what we are practicing and allow these children to be able to grow up and be really successful and independent individuals in society. We talk about again this neurodiverse individuals that are a part of the science. I
Mhm.
do believe that a lot of the push for not training eye contact, not focusing so much on stereotypy, that came
Mhm.
for anyone that may not know stereotypies like hand flapping, repeating words and sounds, things like that. I do think that that really came about through neurodiverse individuals spreading that kind of information to say, why is this important? I started as a BCBA in 2019, and at that time, the company I was with told us that we needed to focus on this.
Mm,
And it was very strange, yes, but it was also
yeah.
still acceptable. So it took people like myself, other people in social media to say
Mm.
no. And I look back at that company as more with more experience and say they were completely wrong, and I knew they were wrong. And that's why we fought it, right? But it takes more and more people to stand up and say no, that we will then really see the improvements we're looking for in these children.
Oh, absolutely. I've also noticed too that like how much like in general the field has gone more like centered approach, like even though we do come up with programs and goals and everything, but like making it more of the learner leading like in the sessions and everything. That's
Yep.
what I love. Like when I'm in my sessions, like I love it every time because I'm like we're doing like naturally like we're doing play and stuff and like we're doing a lot of like we're working on communication a lot more so it's all fun.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, what you're saying is, it is the truth. There are still a lot of things that need to be changed in the
Hmm.
AV field, in my opinion,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
it takes time. It's really a growth factor. We've thankfully moved away from the idea of, oh, well, we've always done things this way. That's
Mhm.
for me not a science anymore. I say if you plateau or you start thinking that way, what is there left to learn? You're no longer a science. It's important that we continue to grow with our patients, with our individuals, with each other to really find a common ground that can promote further growth in the individuals that we serve.
Oh, absolutely. I can agree more with you on that. I also wanted to go into a little bit more about with your own company and stuff, so that way for those who don't know about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we're called Autism International Consulting. I said it earlier. So we're the only autistic owned ABA company in Houston,
Mhm.
Texas. This is where I currently am at. And I get, praise or excitement. Oh, that's so great. But what is concerning to me is also I'm in a city that has millions of people.
Mhm.
And why am I able to say I'm the only one that is owning an ABA company that is also diagnosed with autism? I think that there
Mhm.
needs to be a really big push for more individuals to do it. Maybe you, Michelle, one day. But being able to provide, for now, at least a model of what ABA should be from an autistic perspective. So, like what you were saying, Michelle, too, is we focus on naturalistic play. We focus on
Yeah.
trauma-informed care,
Mhm.
um, really providing a partnership with the therapists that we work with, the parents, but also the children. We've had some parents that will say, "Oh, we want to work on this, this, this." But their child is right next to them. They may be 12 years old, 10 years old, but they are able to form conversations and have conversations. And so I'll go to them and say, "What do you want to learn?" And they may tell me, "Well, I just don't want to be the weird kid." And I'll say, "Then that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on things that matter to you as the patient." People are able to join us in this organization throughout really the world. We're called Autism International for a reason. We do a lot of consultation with different countries, different companies in different countries. To name a few countries: UK, Ireland, South Africa, Pakistan. We have been able
Oh,
to really provide support to individuals that may not have the support otherwise. So we continue to do this. Again, we're called Autism International Consulting. We're continuing to grow. Shell, I haven't told you, we're looking for a second location.
oh,
Yeah, right now it's just in
I
Houston still, unfortunately,
yeah,
but maybe Florida, who knows?
I know, right?
Yeah, but being able to help spread that message that individuals
Yeah.
on the spectrum can and will do anything they set their mind to is very important. Anyone that would like to follow us, we're also on Instagram and Facebook at autismintl. We also have our website, autismintl.com, or our email, autismintlconsulting@gmail.com. So these are just several ways that people can follow us.
Okay, perfect. And just so you know, I've also have a blog story that is attached with this. So there is
Awesome.
I did attach the website as well for people to check that out. So don't forget to check that out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, of course, of course. I actually want to go and start wrapping this up with what is one tip that you have for autistic people that are going into the ABA field?
Okay, so in the ABA field. So in the ABA field, quite honestly, and everyone is going to have a different perspective in this, but I really believe your diagnosis can be a strength because you're going to understand these individuals more than maybe a neurotypical individual may, because you know how they are feeling in these moments. You know, as, and I'm just speaking in a general broad term here, if lights and sounds bother you, and just in your personal life, and you see that there's a lot of lights or a lot of sounds, a lot of issues in a clinical setting, and all of a sudden a child is starting to have some kind of meltdown or tantrum, it's not because they don't want to do something. It may be because that there is this type of setting event, this situation that's occurring with them that maybe others are not going to recognize so quickly, right? Oftentimes in my practice, I may recognize how a child may be feeling regarding fidgets, regarding their approach. Maybe they're really positive with their therapist typically, but today they're not. And maybe it's because every day they brought in a toy and today's the first day they didn't, right? That may be something that's very imperative. I do try to recommend, just depending on the individual, because it is everyone's individual story, to maybe tell your story to a parent to be able to. When I was growing up, I was very much ashamed of my diagnosis up until a college. I grew up in the 90s where it was more important, I would say, to fit in. People didn't want to be different. You look at this generation now and you see everyone is able to say, I have autism, I have ADHD, I have anxiety without really a lot of fear. And I think that's incredible. And it's something that I think a lot of parents may appreciate to know that their practitioner, their professional is also diagnosed with autism. I know the parents that I work with certainly am. And, I don't want to speak for you, Michelle, but I'm sure that's a huge benefit for you in your own field as well to really able to connect with these patients that we're serving.
Yeah, pretty much in that perspective, yeah, for the most part, like in my jobs and stuff, like even with the schools that I've been working with, besides like with the ABA company I work with, I also work with the schools as a behavior specialist. And um the way I tell my schools, I tell them that I'm neurodivergent. That's how I tell them. I'm like, that's because you know what, at the end of the day, it really helps a lot. So it and it gives a different light and perspective for those that you're working with. So absolutely. And I can agree more with you, just like where even just like not letting like just be like pretty much embracing like who you are really, even like with your diagnosis and everything. So it's just so important. So yeah, I want to thank you so much, Armando, for coming on and sharing your journey and also sharing about with the company and everything. I feel like that it's going to be a big takeaway for a lot of people to check out. And also for people, don't forget to follow and subscribe to my blog website, The World of Autism, and to follow and subscribe my professional brand known as Exceptional Show at Self Advocate MV. Thanks, guys.